Well, good morning. Assalamu alaikum. Well, that's my fame and glory. I was in Simpson. That's what I did. That's the biggest accomplishment. Well, I'm very honored to be invited here, but I didn't realize, I couldn't figure out why I was invited here. Because I'm always known as the Grameen guy, the Grameen Bank and Grameen, all the other companies that we created. Grameen means rural. So everything I did with that brand name, Grameen, so here I show up in the city conference. So I'll try to share with you all the things that I've gone through and things, the questions that came to my mind and the way I try to respond to those questions. And you don't have to agree with me, but I'm just kind of guiding you through the process that I have gone through. The first part, of course, the microcredit. You mentioned that started in 1976, expanded. The Grameen Bank itself has 8.5 million borrowers right now. And it's a bank which is owned by the borrowers. And it's a bank which runs with own money. It doesn't take money from outside. Nothing from the government, nothing from international agencies or anything. And a very sustainable bank. While I was doing Grameen Bank over these years, since 1976, I saw many other problems of the poor people, particularly. And I tried to see if I can do something like I did in Grameen Bank, started tiny loans for poor people. I thought I can try to do something, again, a small thing, to address the problem poor people face. And every time I see a problem, I create a business to solve it. That became a habit with me. So I became a kind of creating a series of companies, series of businesses. I created companies to look at the healthcare. I create companies to look at the energy issues. I created companies to look at the eye care, and so on. But all these companies, people started pointing out, really doesn't match the traditional profile of a conventional company. Because companies are created to make money. That's the standard way you create companies. But I created companies not to make money, but to solve problems without having any intention of personally benefiting from that. So there was a kind of debate whether we can call it a company. Does it fit into the profile of a company? Why should anybody do something like that? So I argued, I said, look, I didn't go to the textbook to learn what a company is. I just tried to do something in a way it will be sustainable. I don't have to go around, raise money all the time to do the same thing. So I thought, if I design it as a business, money will come back so I can use the money again and again. That's the whole idea. Whether it fits into your traditional profile, I don't know. If you don't want to call it a business, you have to find a name for me, because I run it as a business. Then the question came, should anybody interested in a business like that? I said, I don't know. If people are interested, they will do it. If they're not interested, that's okay, but I'm interested. If I don't want to make money, nobody can force me to make money. That's my personal preference. So that kind of thing went floating around. Then I thought I should give it a name so that people understand what I do. So I started calling it social business. I started defining it by saying it's a non-dividend company to solve a human problem. And I started explaining why I do that. Some people like it, some people don't, but it continued. The whole idea then fits into the experience that I had within Grameen Bank. I started saying that poverty is not created by the poor people. again and again, I see that all the time when I meet people who are extremely poor and looking at their condition, and you come to a conclusion, whether it is the fault of the person or fault of the system which created an environment for him or her to kind of spend lifetime in such a rejection and deprivation. And I started saying that look at the Grameen Bank or any microcredit program. Poor woman who never had an idea that she can take money and start a life of her own by doing things, selling things, and make an income for herself. Given opportunity, she starts using her own talent, own creativity. But if that financing is not available, she would never have done that. And now, whole bank is owned by Grameen Bank borrowers. These are all poor women. 97% of our borrowers are women. So owning a bank by poor women, that became a reality because we created that opportunity for them. Then I started looking at the system, as I call it. It's created by the system. Poverty is created by the system. What is the system? Then if you look around, you start picking things in the system. They don't look good. System is designed in a very strange way. It's just arranged in a way, it fuels your selfishness. You go into business, which is the prime piece of the system. Business is supposed to be a mechanism to make money. The more money you make, more successful you are, more applause you get from the world. And everybody is trying to imitate that idea, make money. So I said, well, making money is fine with me. But what I don't like about business, it creates an environment as if all human beings are some kind of robots. All they do in their lifetime is make money. It's a very selfish way of designing their life. If somebody is watching us from somewhere, they will see people are running around all the place to make money, rat race, make money. And immediately they will conclude these are some kind of ants which run around to make money. It's a robot-like beings all over the world. I said, that's a misrepresentation of human being that we are. Of all the qualities and the faults of a human being, we cannot say human beings are a single-dimensional being. In any case, we are a multidimensional being. We cannot be described by one single dimension of us, the selfishness. I said, yes, as a human being, we are selfish. But we should not forget, at the same time, we are selfless. So that selflessness is kind of detached in the theory. You pick the selfishness and build the whole theory. As a result, we created a world which is a reflection of our selfishness. In the process, we created lots of problems. We solved many problems, but in the process, we also created problems. If we had admitted other dimensions like selflessness, probably we could have avoided creating the problems that we created. One problem, of course, immediately shows up is the concentration of wealth. Whatever we have done through capitalism, one thing came out very strongly, concentration of wealth in few hands. It's a part of the system. It's a sucking machine which sucks up things from the bottom and transports it to the top. And top becomes very juicy, and the bottom gets very dry. That's what the description that we can give of the system that we have today. And this is built into the system. And not only is it a concentration of income, it's a concentration of wealth, it's a concentration of opportunities, it's a concentration of power, and you name it. And you can give all the statistics, like 85 people in the whole world own more than half the world's wealth. just 85 people. That's not a good system. And the system created that. I don't find fault with those 85 people. They just follow the rules and made it happen. So the rules are at fault, rules which make such an ugly thing to happen. And bottom 50% of the world don't even want 1% of the whole world's wealth. That's ugly too. When we talk about the cities, this is the forum for the cities, this comes out in ugliest forms, because that's where all the richest people live and all the poorest people live. The kind of distance that we create between the rich and the poor, it gets worse every day. So it's not happening that somehow our income distribution will be evened out or become a fair one, tolerable one. No chance, not within the system. The system is working just the opposite way. So that's a dangerous thing to happen. And then question of unemployment, question of healthcare, disparity, and everything else follows from that. So that's where I thought adding this piece of social business to solve problems suddenly opens up a new door. You can look at any problem and come up with a creative idea how to address it in solving that problem in a business way. Why business way? We do it all the time. We try to solve problems all the time. Not that we have withdrawn from the whole thing. We have not. But we do it with charity. That's the only option we got. Either in business, we make money and give away as a charity. When we are generous, we want to do something for people. And charity is a wonderful word. Wonderful work it does. It solves people's problem. But I see a limitation of the charity. In charity, money goes out, does a wonderful work, but it doesn't come back. So you have only one-time use of your money. What I was trying to do the same work in a business way. Objective is the same, but create a business so that what I now call social business. So the social business money goes out, does the work, and comes back. Then you have a wonderful thing. You can reuse the money again and again. So the charity money has one life, but social business money has endless life. So in a social business, you create a sort of an engine which runs by itself. It doesn't need any refueling from outside. That's a fantastic thing to happen. You can address any problem that you can see. I got very excited about the idea and started doing that. Something happened within the Grameen Bank that attracted my eyes, and I wanted to do something about it. We encouraged all the children of Grameen families to have education because their mothers, who were Grameen Bank borrowers, are totally illiterate. So we thought that second generation should not repeat the illiteracy in their families. So we encouraged them to go to school, have a good education, gave them educational loans so that they can go to higher education, get their degrees, and so on. They did. But there's no job. So they are always saying, complaining, there's no job, what do we do? In the beginning, I didn't know what to say. Then I started saying, why are you looking for jobs? Job is a bad idea. You are children of this generation, the new century. Your thinking process should be different than the people from the previous generations, from the previous centuries. They are prehistoric people. They are looking for jobs. They want to work for somebody. You are children of this century. Job is an old-fashioned idea. You should be thinking, we are not job seekers, we are job creators. And grow up as a job creator. In the beginning, they were hesitating, they don't know. It sounded like I'm making a joke with them. I don't have a job, he's telling me to create a job. How cruel can he get? I said, no, I'm real. I mean it. You have the creative capacity. Why you waste for working for somebody? If you work for somebody, you start at the bottom. If you start at the bottom, you work under a tiny little boss over you. And he shapes you according to the wishes that he has, not according to what creative power you have. So why sacrifice your creative power? Why don't you become boss yourself? Do things your way. But still it didn't make sense. So what I did, I created a social business fund and started telling all the young people, come up with business ideas, any business. If you don't have business idea, look at your mother, what she did with a tiny loan, $30, $50 loan. She started a business. What good is your education if you're not better than your mother, illiterate mother? If your illiterate mother can create a business, after all these degrees that you have from the universities and so on, you say you have to work for somebody else. It doesn't make sense to me. Now these young people are coming out with business ideas, and we become the partner with them. It's not a loan, it's an equity. So we become partner. So we create partnership with them, and they become entrepreneurs. And I really believe that unemployment is an issue artificially created by the wrong thinking process in our theory. Unemployment came because you assumed all human beings should seek employment. Why should they? Aren't we coming from a tradition where we did things for ourselves? Aren't we the people who lived in caves, went around and got things done for us? We are not sending job applications when we are in the caves. Job application from cave number 2 to cave number 10, do you have a job? They didn't. So that's a long tradition. Suddenly, in a couple of centuries, 3 centuries, we forgot all about it. We started looking for jobs. Something transformed us, wrong thinking. The young person who is unemployed, whether in Bangladesh, whether it's in Spain or in Italy, doesn't have any fault with them. He's a very energetic person, but doesn't have a job. So he sits idle, as if somebody has put a spell on him. System has put a spell on him. There's nothing wrong with the person. He didn't think that he can create jobs for not only himself, for others too. All we need to do is to create the financial system. Again, financial system, another faulty design of the entire capitalism. It denies access to more than half the population of the world, including the unemployed people. You don't have access to financial system. We created the financial system for the poor people who are not being accessed by the conventional system, and it worked. In the beginning, they were suspicious. You must be doing some bookkeeping in a funny way. They dug up everything, didn't find any fault, and finally convinced that, yes, they do pay back. But the still financial system has not changed. This still is a system which caters to the needs of the big people, not the little people. That's a wrong system. Similarly, for the unemployed young people, they cannot go to a banking system, say, I want to start a business. So who are you? Where is your collateral? So we created the social business. We don't ask those questions. We said, if you have an idea, we are your partner. You take it for granted from us. You become an entrepreneur. So anybody can become an entrepreneur. That's what human beings are, and it could be done. Then it's becoming more and more complicated as we go. Just an example. It took 3 million years to have the total population of this planet make up into 1 million. After 3 million years of existence, we became 1 million. After we became 1 million on this planet, it took 20,000 years to come to 1 billion. And very recently, we became 1 billion very recently. 1864. We became the first billion in this planet. And it took 123 years to do the next billion. It took 20,000 years to make the first billion. Second billion was done in 123 years, in 1927, the other day. And we became 7 billion in 1911. You remember, it's a very recent phenomenon. So 1 billion in 1827. So if you add 100 years after 1827, in 2027 will be 8.5 billion. So we'll be adding how many people? No, sorry. In 1927, we were 2 billion. We'll be, in 100 years, we'll be adding this extra 6.5 billion, become 8.5 billion. So on an average, it takes about 16 years to become another billion within this 100 years. But in recent years, it's a 12 years makes 1 billion. So 1 billion people are coming to the planet every year, the new one, additional one. 80 million people every year. Where do they go? What kind of stress it creates in the world in terms of consumption, in terms of sanitation, in terms of waste control, anything else. As you add, never in human history so many people came to this planet so fast. All our theories, all our preparations go down the drain. We cannot cope with it. And in the meantime, our famous capitalism has added many things, income disparity and destroying this planet by climate change. So these people will follow, if they follow the same system, of course they will, because unless the separate system comes, they will add to their pollutions and their climate change issues if we continue to pursue the same thing. And global warming will continue. So the path doesn't look very attractive. And that's where the cities come in, because that's where people will be migrating into. And that's what they do, is becoming, Dhaka will become a mega city very soon, hitting this mega city level, 15 million and above. It's already over 12 million. How do we take care of them? What happens to our consumption of fossil fuel and make this world unlivable completely? And we are doing as if business as usual. Business is not as usual. These are real people coming in. So how do you address all these things? Should we get scared about it? Should we get nervous about it, what it is? What kind of city we should have? And I was just discussing before I came in, should we have city at all? Cities, again, came from a very previous kind of thinking. You don't have infrastructure facility everywhere, so we concentrate all the infrastructure facility in one place so everybody can graze there. You have communication, you have education, you have easily available manpower, you locate your factories and everything, and produce all the fume, make the world unlivable, have all the cars with the fossil fuel, make the world unlivable. So the contribution of cities in making this world unlivable is enormous. So that concept of city, we cannot go further. We have to redesign. And we ask ourselves, do we need city? Because infrastructure doesn't have to be concentrated in one place because it's already decentralized, thanks to technology. So what are the paths out of it? That we have to consider. I try to sum up my way of thinking in 3 zeros. Zero number 1, zero poverty in the world. It's achievable, it's doable because people have nothing wrong with them. They are creative, they can take care of them and they can themselves and they can take care of the world. In the process, change the life of themselves. So we have demonstrated many ways of doing that, but it can be done. Zero poverty can be achieved. Next one, zero unemployment. Again, as I said, unemployment is a very unnatural, very unacceptable concept. So why should we continue with that unemployment? So we can create entrepreneurship instead of unemployment. Transform unemployed into entrepreneurs. It's possible. Varieties of ways can be shown. The next zero, third zero, is zero net emission. We can achieve zero net emission. All we have to do is to look at how we produce that emission with the fossil fuel, the land use and everything else, and cut the trees every day. Cities are the ones who eat up tons of papers every day and create this life unlivable because we're chopping up trees all the time. We should be growing trees so that they can absorb CO2 and emit oxygen for us. But we're doing the reverse. Country after country getting deforested. And Indonesia is one, which is its own contribution in that. So this is the reverse process that we have to hold and move into the right direction. So I mentioned way out in 4 aspects. I said the biggest thing that happens in this world right now to get us out into the new system, new way of creation, creating a new civilization almost, because this civilization is not a civilization which will take us very far. It's a destructive path that we are following. So we have to create a world, civilization, which will protect human beings, protect the planet, and everything else. How will it be done? The young people. First, number one, the mega power that I see is the young people. Tremendous ability, tremendous power in their hand because of technology. And their thinking process is much faster than anybody ever had before. I keep referring to them as the most powerful young generation in human history because of the technology they have. And I remind them, while I mentioned that you are the most powerful generation in human history, I remind them, imagine the children who are born today. They will look at you as a prehistoric people because technology will go so fast. Your speed and so on in their presence will be totally useless. They will look at you as a caveman. That's the speed in which it's going. So young people are the one, if we give them an opportunity to delink themselves from our generation so that you don't think the way we think. You think the way you want to think. You imagine the world in your way and create it. I think that's the best bet. And they have to figure out what kind of world they want for themselves. So the power of young people, I see, is the most powerful power we have with us right now to change all the things, all the paradigm that we have right now. The second one is technology, the mega power of technology. It's changing in every second. If you try to imagine what will be the kind of technology every individual will be carrying around in 20 years, you create a science fiction to imagine what it will be. And you write it down, the science fiction of 20 years from now, about you and about your families, about the children who will be there. And if you read this, what you have written today, 20 years later, you'll see actual world is more different, more science fiction than science fiction you have written. Your imagination even couldn't get there. That's the speed in which technology is moving. If we use the power of young people and the power of technology, we have the best chance. We cannot figure that out, what it is, but we should be handing over to them, surrender to them. You are the savior of the world. Third one, as I'm biased to it, social business can save us. Because this money, profit-seeking rat race is not the path to save us. So I'm not saying money-making business has to stop. All I'm saying, every human being can do both. Do the money-making business for themselves, at the same time social business to save the world, save things, do things to undo the things which were done before. And that's where the social business concept is so powerful. Undo things, solve solutions for everything that we do. And the fourth point is good governance. All said and done, it's possible only you can establish all the elements of good governance in the system, within the country, within the region, and the global system, including the business itself, to bring the good governance within the business, redefine business, what it should be. That's the whole thing comes at the good governance issue. If you put them all together, then we have a chance. And in the city-wise, since we are in the city part, we come to the question of social business. Some of the initiatives are coming, which I didn't initiate, but I was surprised, and I was very pleasantly surprised that the initiative is coming. Creating social business city. That was a new idea for me. But it came from Germany. One of the city in Germany, Wiesbaden, next to Frankfurt, the mayor, while I was there in Wiesbaden attending a conference, mayor declared that his city from now on will be a social business city. And he elaborated in his speech what he meant by social business city. And I was very impressed the way he understood and the way he explained. He said, my city, Wiesbaden, has a budget of over 1 billion euro. That's the budget of the city. But I feel very annoyed, very disappointed with the way we use this 1 billion euro. More than half of this, more than €500 million, is used in transfer payment, in charities, giving to the unemployed people, giving to the welfare recipient, giving to the old people in the city. So I'm dishing out money I collected from the taxpayers. It's more than half. So remaining less than €500 million that I have, I try to improve things, maintain things, pay salaries, and all this. So I don't like that. But this idea of social business kind of struck me. So what I'm going to do, I'll invite all the businesses in my city. There are more than 3,000 businesses in my city, to start a social business alongside their business, to take care of one of the problems that I have in a small way, just a small way. Like if I have many, many unemployed young people, I'll ask the businesses, can you figure out, can you create a social business to employ 5 unemployed young people? The whole purpose of the business is to employ an unemployed person, that's all. In a way, it covers his cost. You didn't create the business to make money for yourself. So at least I don't have to pay for these 5 people. Then second business, third business, fourth business doing that, then I have less money to spend on the transfer payment. And we are solving the problem. And if somebody can make unemployed young people into entrepreneur, I get an additional business running. That's also good. And also I can do the same thing with the welfare recipients who are on my roll. I have to pay this welfare payment to them. If you can take 5 welfare people out of welfare by creating a social business, you save those 5 people, became real human, active, productive human being, and you saved my budget. I don't have to pay for them. I can use it for other purposes, isn't it? That's the idea of social business city. So while you'll be discussing business city problems, I invite you to look at that idea also. Many of the problems of ghettos, problems of slums, problems of compounds, and whatever you'll be talking about, how to bring idea of social business addressing those problems. So the whole issue is we can create a completely new framework in order to create a completely new civilization. The old framework is not going to do us any good work. It needs to be redesigned so that we can redesign our life in this planet. Thank you very much for listening. Thank you. Thank you.